All persons having any business before this honourable court now draw nigh and give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Queen.
Admission of lawyers. Rania Arabi.
May it please the court. I move that Rania Arabi be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Rania Arabi be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Ashley Patricia Benham.
May it please the court. I move that Ashley Patricia Benham be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Ashley Patricia Benham be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Dorsa Dawson.
May it please the court. I move that Dorsa Dawson be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Dorsa Dawson be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Conlon Lewis Faircher.
May it please the court. I move that my son, Conlon Lewis Faircher, be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Conlon Lewis Faircher be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Christian William Ibrahim.
May it please the court. I move that Christian W. Ibrahim be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Christian William Ibrahim be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Clement Brion Lua.
May it please the court. I move that Clement Rion Luo be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Clement Rion Luo be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Edward Stewart McDougall.
May it please the court. May my son, Edward Stewart McDougall, be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Let Edward Stewart McDougall be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Brianna Rose McLean.
May it please the court. I move that Brianna Rose McLean be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Brianna Rose McLean be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Mingjing Ni.
May it please the court. I move that Mingjing Ni be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Mingjing Ni be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Salia Rafiki.
May it please the court. I move that Salia Rafiki be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Salia Rafiki be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Abigail Kate Stevens.
Please the court. I move that Abigail Kate Stevens be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Abigail Kate Stevens be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jordana Candice Tonkin.
May it please the court, I move that Jordana Candice Tonkin be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Jordana Candice Tonkin be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Freya Constance von Bauer.
May it please the court, I move that Freya Constanza von Bauer be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Freya Constanza von Bauer be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Kai-Yan Wang.
May it please the court. I move that Kai-Yan Wang be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Kai-Yan Wang be admitted as a lawyer of this court. It will be necessary for the purpose of swearing an oath or making an affirmation that all those being admitted today stand up, but please remain in your current places. Could all admittees please stand?
Rania Arabi. Ashley Patricia Benham. Dorsa Dawson. Conlon Lewis Faircher. Christian William Ibrahim. Clement Rion Liu. Edward Stewart McDougall. Brianna Rose McLean. Mingjing Ni. Salia Rafiki. Abigail Kate Stevens. Jordana Candice Tonkin. Freya Constanza von Bauer. Kai-Yan Wang. Do you severally swear or declare and affirm that you will truly and honestly conduct yourselves in the practice of a lawyer of the Supreme Court of New South Wales and that you will faithfully serve as such in the administration of the laws and usages of this state according to the best of your knowledge, skill and ability. Would you please say, "So help me God," or "I do"?
Please be seated. Now that the formal part of the proceedings has ended, I'd like to warmly welcome you to the Supreme Court of New South Wales. Present with me on the bench today, to my right is Justice Ward, who is the Chief Judge of the Equity Division of the Court, and to my left, Justice Adams, who is a member of the Common Law Division. Together, we constitute the Court that has, in exercise of its jurisdiction, admitted you to practice. As we gather here today, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. We recognise the long-standing and enduring customs and traditions of Australia's First Nations and acknowledge with deep regret the role that our legal system has played in perpetuating many injustices against Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. To all the new lawyers here today, welcome to the legal profession. Today is a day for celebration. You have all worked extremely hard to get here, through caffeine-fuelled nights and obscure problem questions, reading countless wafer-thin pages of textbooks and more cases than you could ever hope to remember. Rest assured, for those of you with a bibliophobia, that is, fear of running out of reading material, as lawyers, that fear will never materialise. You've entered the world of egg-shell skulls, encountered a mysterious reasonable person, and have understood that the Constitution consists of so much more than the vibe of the thing. In becoming a lawyer, you have today joined a centuries-old profession with ancient origins. The custom of advocates swearing an admissions oath date back to the 12th century. This court first admitted lawyers to practice in 1824, and by 1830 the names of lawyers were entered onto rolls in this state. You have now become part of this tradition almost 200 years later. Perhaps for some of you, or more probably for your family and friends, that feels how long that you've been studying. On that note, I'm also pleased to welcome those with you here today or watching on the live stream. For many of you, the support of your family and friends has been no doubt invaluable. No doubt they have also often been on the receiving end of your finely polished skills of argument or persuasion. I do encourage you all to take the time to thank them today. The oath or affirmation you have made today is a serious one and deserves solemn regard. Whether you work in private practice, at the bar, in a community legal centre, or in an entirely different field, you should be known for your honesty, your integrity, and your commitment to justice. It is an acknowledgement of this weighty responsibility that we observe today's unique formalities, including the moving of lawyers, swearing of oaths, or even our somewhat unusual choice of fashion. I recall on one occasion some years ago, a young member of the audience asked if we were doing Santa photos after the ceremony. I was very sorry to disappoint. However, although we mark this occasion with formality and tradition, not everything in the legal profession remains unchanging. You'll be unsurprised to hear that last year we had to adapt quite a bit. COVID-19 meant a rapid shift to increased use of virtual courtroom setups and technology to ensure that access to justice continued in the midst of a pandemic. Things didn't always go smoothly, as those with me on the bench can certainly attest to. There have been real difficulties to grapple with in terms of open justice, effective communication and fairness to participants. And occasionally, but perhaps unsurprisingly, a lawyer might even get stuck behind a Zoom kitten filter. But for all the challenges we faced, the impetus is greater than ever before for us to prioritise flexibility and accessibility. Better use of technology and increased working from home arrangements have profound implications for how our legal system interacts with many people, including those in rural and remote areas, those with a disability, medical conditions, or carers' responsibilities. As the newest members of the profession, you are at the forefront of innovation in the law and have a unique opportunity to see through changes so that justice is done openly and equitably. There are, of course, other changes that deserve attention. When we think of the diversity of the legal profession, we encounter the duality that we've come very far and that much still needs to be done. Though women were originally not permitted to practice, since 2018, women have made up more than half of all the solicitors with a practising certificate in New South Wales and currently make up 63% of solicitors under the age of 30. Women occupy many of the most senior positions in the law, including, of course, the Chief Justice of Australia. However, women continue to face challenges of representation, including amongst judges of this court, although you may perhaps think that the composition of the bench today belies that fact, and, for example, amongst barristers in speaking roles before the High Court. It is heartening to see that the local court of New South Wales has almost achieved gender parity amongst magistrates, but we must not be complacent about these issues. There are other noticeable diversity concerns that we must face head-on. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people continue to be alarmingly underrepresented in the legal profession, and particularly within the judiciary and the ranks of senior counsel. We must also be alert to barriers to the profession from people from less privileged backgrounds. Law should not be a profession for the wealthy, and the idea that students may be dissuaded from studying law by the cost of a law degree, which this year has again increased, or because of other systemic issues, is troubling. Not just this, but we'll only achieve a truly diverse profession when barriers to advancement are broken down and people from different backgrounds are properly supported in a collegiate and inclusive environment, free from harassment and discrimination. These issues are fundamental to a just and transparent legal system and to the legitimacy of the rule of law. We need diverse representation amongst advocates and judges so that all people who become involved in our justice system can be properly heard and fairly engaged with by a system reflective of our broader community. Despite these challenges, there is real scope for change. There is far greater diversity of background amongst junior lawyers than those who have been around for as long as me. And you only have to look at your fellow admittees in this courtroom and then at the paintings on the wall to see that that is undoubtedly correct. You are in a unique position as new lawyers who are entering the profession at a time when more than ever your words and actions are having an impact for good. You are being heard and taken seriously when you agitate to correct injustices, whether it be speaking out about unsustainable working cultures, sexual harassment, or bullying within the profession. I urge you to continue to speak up for these things. They do matter. You are the future of the profession and will steer the direction it will take. As a lawyer, you will also need to make difficult ethical decisions at times. With regard to our personal characteristics, lawyers have been the butt of jokes for centuries. Some would say there are, of course, only a few real lawyer jokes. The rest are true stories. Jokes aside, however, you must use the tools you have developed to think critically and not compromise on your fundamental duties to the court and the administration of justice, as well as the other ethical duties you must uphold. Now that you are lawyers, you can get paid to argue instead of just arguing for free. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that. You're an advisor, a problem solver, a mediator, and an advocate for the marginalised. As you go about your day-to-day work, remember that you're not merely dealing with law in a vacuum as a series of abstract concepts, but law as it applies to people's lives. For this reason, you must strive to deliver legal services competently and fearlessly with courtesy and integrity. Justice Gageler, before he was a High Court judge, once said, "You must be prepared to give the same answer to the same questions, for the same reasons, no matter who asks the question or for what purpose or in what context the asking may occur." That is foundational to the rule of law. For those of you who will practice law, the way you communicate information to others will have profound consequences for access to justice. For a non-lawyer, law is often incomprehensible. One of your roles as lawyers will be to make the law accessible to others, sometimes by deciphering legal complexities, other times by deciphering poor legal drafting, and sometimes both. One thing you will regrettably strike throughout your career is legislation which seems carefully crafted with the object of ensuring that no one can understand it. Your task is not just to understand it, but to explain it clearly to those whose rights and interests are affected by it. As lawyers, we must not keep the law locked up as something knowable only to us. A client reading your advice should be empowered to understand your meaning, not mystified and confused. So be clear and concise in your writing and your speaking. Plain English is powerful. Consider, do I nearly need to say aforementioned or herewith? Must I sprinkle in that Latin phrase? Should I use 1,000 split infinitives? Should I really use double negatives, tautologies and wordy clauses that take up a whole page? I would suggest that the answer to these questions is certainly no. The best advocates can make their points simply and succinctly. Some of the most experienced lawyers and judges could also use that reminder. Do not pick up bad habits from those who should know better. I also want to speak about failure. I would not be surprised if there are quite a few overachievers and perfectionists in the room today. Even so, at various points of your career, you will make mistakes, some minor, some more serious. When you do make mistakes, your commitment to honesty, integrity and the administration of justice means that you must take responsibility, correct what you can and learn from those errors. You must fail at times in order to grow. What is important is that you try not to make the same mistake twice. I myself have made many mistakes over the years, far too many for me to remember. Even as Chief Justice, my decisions have on occasion been successfully appealed to the High Court. At those points of time, I'm obliged to grit my teeth and remind myself that it's not a mere fiction that the High Court is infallible. But at times, even dissenting opinions have later become the law. Finally, I want to emphasise that your mental health is extremely important. This may sound unexpected at this type of ceremony, but the law is not everything. There may be times when you feel overwhelmed, burnt out or distressed. If you do, you should not be afraid to seek professional help or to take a step back when you need to. Also remember, the law is a collegiate profession, and in times of difficulty, the support of your peers will prove invaluable. I found that throughout my practicing career. Although you might find it hard to believe, I was admitted quite a long time ago. I lost my first case, and I lost many more after that. Throughout my 35 years in practice, I could always count on the other barristers on my floor to share my disappointment at the unfairness of the verdict, the slight tactics of opposing counsel, or most often, I regret to say, the obtuseness of the judge or judges before whom I was appearing. I hasten to add that I don't include either of my fellow judges on the bench in that comment. On behalf of all the judges of the Supreme Court, and particularly those sitting with me today, can I congratulate you again on your admission and welcome you to the legal profession. The Court will now adjourn.
Silence all stand.